Hey everybody, Seth with Everyman Prepping here, and today I want to go through that report that came out a couple days ago. I mentioned it, the Russian plans for World War III going through the Balkans into Germany. It was leaked documents by the German Defense Ministry that a website, a news agency in Germany first got a hold of, and it's kind of spread. Well, a lot of people have been talking about it. I want to give you my shorter version because I know like Nate from Canadian Prepper just did like an hour-long review of it, deep dive, but a lot of people can't hang for a 50-minute video, so I'm going to try to do it quickly, give you some ideas. I'm also going to debunk the Swalti gap. Does Russia really need it? Is it really critical? I'm going to debunk all that, and we're going to, so you know what to really pay attention to. That's a big false narrative, I believe, in this whole thing. But let's put it up really quick. We can go through two versions of it. This one here is from the New York Post, and it kind of lays out what they think, how the plan will go. But then, Newsweek had their own version, so different groups have their own idea of what this leaked document meant, what it portrays, and then, I want to go through, is this a red herring? Is it just false information to propose a narrative? Is it something of a Hegelian dialect where, you have a problem, you propose the solution to get the outcome you want? The problem is this plan right here. The NATO's going to come up with solutions to these problems, and the outcome they want, I believe, is to get rid of Putin, to, have Russia under control of someone not as favorable to China because they feed China all the commodities, oil, gas, everything like that. And you cut that off, then China's weaker, and then the United States and NATO get to reign supreme over the world for longer because their dollar hasn't crashed. I think that's the end. But let's go through this plan. We're going to talk about, is it even possible? Some of the steps, would it really happen? And like I said, we're going to debunk when we get over here to, was it number 5? On this one, the Swati gap. And how that's always come up is so important, but I think that's just a fake news. It's in there, but it's not important at all. I'm going to show you why and what we really need to pay attention to. But without even wasting more time, let's get into this one. And as we do, please like, share, comment the video, and subscribe to the channel. So we see number 1 option here. In February 2024, which is like next month, Russia calls up 200,000 more troops. We go to the Newsweek one, same thing. February, Russia mobilizes 200,000 troops. Now, is this really something that could happen? It definitely could happen. They can definitely mass more troops. They're going to need more, troops going forward. There is the March election in Russia for Putin. He's going for another term. Does he do this right before the election? Depends on the feel of the people. If the sense is the people want, to end this war and they want to mobilize and get it over with, he does it. If they get the feeling that they're, kind of war tired over there, he probably doesn't. Definitely could happen. Wouldn't surprise me if that happened at all. Spring 2024, Russia launches a new offensive into Ukraine, making significant advances by June. That's number 2 here. Go back to this one, same thing. Spring, it launches a massive offensive into Ukraine. Definitely could see this happening. They need to end this in Ukraine. They're losing men, machinery, all that. They want to just, put Zelensky, out of business, take over to at least the river here. They're going to want the Dnieper River, at least take that much in the warm water ports. And I think they will put a push. So I think number 2 is definitely in there to happen. Number 3, cyber attacks against Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, stirring up Russian nationals who live in those areas to do, guerrilla tactics. What does Newsweek think here? Russia incites violence in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So we're still on track with this one here. And what that would mean is, these 3 countries here, to start in Rust. Cyber attacks going all around. It could happen all over. I can see cyber attacks going into Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, United States, UK. Definitely, okay. On with that one. Yeah, should definitely happen. 4, September 2024. Using those Russian nationals as a pretense to saying the Balkans are rightfully theirs. Basically what they said in Ukraine, hey, there's Russian nationals. We're going to take it back because you're, hurting our Russians are really our people. They're going to say, well, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are basically Russian people. They're ours. We want it back. So they're going to start putting in 50,000 troops into Belarus for some exercises right next to the Balkans here. And then what we have here in this other one is the same basic thing. Kremlin sends 50,000 soldiers to Belarus for an exercise in September 2024. So if we see this is what they did right before Ukraine was invaded. They did exercises, they did trainings, they put a lot of troops there. We can see if that happens, they might be pushed for going into there. We shall see, because why not just send your troops into Ukraine? You start putting that many troops into Belarus, something might be happening. Next, we have October 2024, right before the elections. This year, November, United States. Russia sends missiles to Kaliningrad. They already have that. This is where these two start differing. This one over here doesn't have that. They go all the way to the Suwalki Gap, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the missiles they show here, there are already missiles there. There's already nuclear weapons probably in Kaliningrad. They definitely have all the missiles there. They took some S-400s out, but there's already plenty of missiles there. I don't think they need to send any more. If they do, they've already been doing it. They can get through the Baltic Sea, no big deal. Don't see that as causing a big problem. We'll get to that map in a minute. With this next step is number 6, December of 2024. So after the election, fake border conflict in the Suwalki Gap. And then what we have here is taking advantage of the transition period after the U.S. elections. Russia claims border conflicts, forces it to take control of the Suwalki Gap, a corridor connecting Belarus to Kaliningrad, which is their exclave. So they're saying that they're going to say there's some crisis down here, and they need to take this land. Here's Suwalki. Here's Belarus, Kaliningrad, which is their exclave. This is Russian territory, Lithuania, and Poland down here. So they're saying they're going to want to take this over because NATO's threatening to cut them off and then cut Kaliningrad off. Well, that's where I say I'm going to debunk that. They don't want. There's nothing in Suwalki Gap. It is this border region here, but as we zoom in, you'll see it is trees, farmland, grass, dirt roads. This is not how goods, services, commodities, all that stuff gets into Kaliningrad. How does it get into Kaliningrad? Well, the Baltic over here, the warm water part, the Baltic Sea over here, and trains. But the trains don't go through the Suwalki Gap or roads. They go through from Minsk, from Belarus, into Vilnius, through Kaunas, or however you pronounce that, and then down into the little town of Kurdikinkos. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not it. It's this one here. It's Kybartai. However you pronounce it. Anyway, it's this one right here. And you can see the main road. There's also a train tracks that follow that same route. So this is the route, this right here, this A16 as we go through here, cuts through, goes into Vilnius, and goes over here to the border, and then finally exits and goes into Minsk. That is how everything gets into Kaliningrad. Not through Suwalki Gap, and I'll show you that in a minute how that's not true. It all comes through Lithuania. And to show you that, we have this article here. Is the Suwalki Gap the most dangerous place on Earth? And as we scroll down, this article says, furthermore, Russian citizens and commodities currently travel primarily by train from Belarus to Vilnius in Lithuania, and then down to that Kybartai town on Kaliningrad's border. In other words, they do not pass through the Suwalki corridor. Russian citizens and commodities rarely pass through the Suwalki corridor because it's dirt roads. I'll show you that in a minute. Russian citizens and commodities to transport, Russia would need to resolve the lack of infrastructure down there. Currently, there's no rail lines in that Suwalki corridor, like I said. So there's nothing. They don't need it. That's just would not happen. And to show you the railroads, this is a rail map of railroads. So you got Belarus over here, and you got the blue rail line, turns into a green one, and it goes down to that town right here that I told you about. Kybartai or whatever it is. So this is how the train and people get into Kaliningrad, which is right here. The Suwalki Gap is here. There's nothing there. And as we go to Google Maps, I'll zoom in and show you. This is the border, and we'll follow. It is straight farmland and forest and some lakes, some rivers. It goes right through this lake right here. It follows it up. There is, as you can see, it's farmland. There is no roads here. There's this little road here. It's dirt. Nothing in there. In fact, I want to show you, as we page on over here, where it meets over here. Kaliningrad. This is a tri-corner. There's a little monument here even. I'm going to click on it. So this is just a road that goes between Poland and Lithuania. And this is Kaliningrad, this little point. And what's at this point? Well, you got this thing here. This little, it's surrounded by barbed wire and cameras. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. There we go. It's where the three countries meet. There's nothing here. You're not going there. You're not transporting anything through there. You're not, goods are not going through there. So this Suwalki Gap importance is just, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not important. And if they use that as something to be important, they're doing something else. Now, what does this mean, though, is Lithuania is, basically screwed. Let's put it that way. If you hear them cutting off trains to Vilnius or closing the border to Belarus or closing the border at this town right here, Kaibarati. If they close this down, close the rail, then you know that Russia's going to do something. Then they'll probably take Lithuania and say, look, we need to supply Kaliningrad. We need that land route, which is way up here, not the Suwalki Gap. We need this land route, so we're just going to take Lithuania. Now, is that going to install Article 5 to happen? Will NATO come to save Lithuania? I don't know. It's on Poland's border, but Kaliningrad's already on Poland's border, so I know they're supposed to go for Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. They're supposed to go enact Article 5. Will they? I don't know. They might just say, we might write them off for that. We'll have to see, but it won't be the Suwalki Gap. So don't pay attention to that. Pay attention if Lithuania closes the borders to rail and trains from Belarus. That'll be the trigger, not the Suwalki Gap. So moving on from that, we have number 7 in January, a year from now, NATO meeting on Russian threat. And then this one gets a little more detail. They say, January 2025, Russia falsely accuses NATO of plotting to overthrow Putin. So, they're going to cut the head off the snake. They're going to take out Putin from the top. This means that they think Putin won the March elections of this year and he's still in charge. And they want to take him out. But then who replaces him? Well, let's look at that real quickly. I know we're going on here about 10 minutes or so. Let's see if I can wrap it up. But so who can replace Putin? And sometimes, you replace that guy, you might get someone worse, someone more into war, someone that more wants to go to nuclear war. That's, the risk you run of removing a leader. So who do we have? We have Dmitry Medvedev that might take his spot. He's the deputy chair of the Security Council right now. I've told you many times about him. He loves commenting about nuclear war. This guy will definitely go to nuclear war. He would probably be worse than Putin on his aggressiveness. So that would not be something NATO wanted. They bring up this Alexei Dynam guy. He was Putin's bodyguard at one time, and now he's over there as a governor of a region. So he basically, I think, would be another Putin replacement, probably same values. Don't think that NATO would want that to go in there. You have Sergei Sobyanin. He's the mayor of Moscow. This guy might be less of a war hawk, might be more of a technocrat. So maybe hopefully this guy would take over, but I don't know how popular it is to do that. So that's one favor for NATO. You have this guy, Mikhail Mishustin. He's the Russian prime minister right now. And if Putin was to get taken out right now, he would become the leader of the country, the president, basically. But basically describes here that he doesn't want that role. He wouldn't want to fit that role. So I don't even know if he would want to do that. I'm not too favorable about him. And lastly, you have Nikolai Patrushev. And they're basically, the parallel between him and Putin are striking. They're both born in Leningrad. This guy was in the KGB. He basically, is the military. He's a war hawk. It would be just like, Dmitry Medvedev being in there. So, taking out Putin, like it says here in number 8, and was it number 6 over here, they could run the risk of putting even somebody in there that might go to war even faster. So, I don't know if I can't see that happening. I don't see how they would possibly be able to do that. Anyway, lastly, they have March through May of 2025, outright conflict between NATO forces and Russian forces in the Balkans. So they're saying that Article 5 would be enacted. They would go in and go to war. And this one goes and says that there would be 300,000 troops deployed, and Putin either backs down or we go to war. Now, 300,000 troops, I don't know why you'd back down. Ukraine had, I don't know, what they have, 500,000 or 600,000 troops right now, and they've lost, about 400,000 or 500,000 of those. They're not many left. That's why they're drafting 40-plus-year-olds up to 60. They're going after women because they're running out of people. And so if you think 300,000 troops on the border is going to scare Russia into doing something, I can't see that happening. It'd have to be much larger. They'd have to be actual Article 5 with the country's army just coming in after him to even make him want to back down. And I don't think they are going to back down. I don't think they feel they can back down, so I don't think it would. So that's the leaked war proposal. And I don't know if that would happen that way. I think this gives NATO a push to say, well, this is what they're planning. We need to counteract. We need to put troops there. We need to move nuclear weapons into Poland. We need to do stuff like this, whatever. We need to, if we want to start that war because we want to try to take out Putin, maybe we try to do something in the false flag area of the Suwalki Gap, even though it means nothing. But, on the backside, they're taking out the Belarus and the Lithuanian borders and the trains and all that. We shall see, but I just want to go through it quick. That's what they're proposing. And I don't think it would take back. Let me put this back up here. This is saying that, I like this one better to look at. March to May 2025 be a war. I don't know if it would take that long if all this happened. The U.S. dollar is on the downward spiral right now. It's a lot of people think that this is going to be the year that it loses the reserve currency for good, falls down because, a lot of people say by March, the money that's in the pool of money, the reserve repo that are funding the banks, when that runs out, either banks fail and the money system crashes, or the printing machine gets turned on bigger and faster than ever, and inflation hits, and and the dollar crashes because of that. And then a lot of the financial guys out there, the people out there that I've been watching in the community and the gold silver world and other ones, they're thinking this is the end game for the dollar. So we shall see. If that happens, you got to go to war. That's what countries do. Their money dies, they try to go to war to save it. Well, will it be saved? I don't know. I just want to put that out there. Put any comments down below what you think would happen. What do you think about this plan? Is it feasible? Is it just, red herring, false flag stuff? Whatever you think. If you have questions, put them in the comments as well. I'll try to answer them or someone else in the community. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground, head on a swivel.